What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to Wi-Fi Wednesday. Now, I know that this is a little bit of a different intro than what you are used to, but I wanted to change things up just a little bit. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this intro, but normally we do our intro in-game, and so it's somewhat rushed. I don't really get to talk about the team that in-depth, and so, you know, if you're going to be using the team for yourself, maybe a little bit of an explanation would help a lot, and so that's my thinking going into this. If you like the old intro better, let me know, but I wanted to try this out just to see what you think. Before I get into it though, I wanted to say thank you. We have reached 200 subscribers on the channel within our first year on the channel, like a year and 2 weeks or something. So I'm gonna say the first year. Our goal was to get that before the end of this year, and we have done that. So I wanted to say thank you for all of the support, for all of you coming out to the streams that we do on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time, shameless plug, and for, of course, watching the videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the exact same time. We do all kinds of fun stuff on this channel, and with the 200 subscribers, we are going to be doing a week of Wi-Fi. Now, the last time I did this, it was against random opponents. This time, we're going to be doing it against viewers. So people who have asked to battle me. We currently have 4 lined up for that week of Wi-Fi, and so I can fit a few more in. So if you're subscribed to the channel and would like to be featured on that week of Wi-Fi, hit me up with the comments down below, shoot me a message on Twitter, and I think we can work something out for you. Another thing is we are going to be launching a Discord server very, very soon. And so again, another reason to subscribe. Once we launch that, it's going to be a lot of, I think it's going to be a better way to interact with fellow subscribers as far as figuring out trades, posting pictures of shinies, and all that good stuff. So it's going to be a really great way of building the community together. And of course, as always, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I've already had somebody tell me that we've got to get to 1,000 by the end of next year. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but you know what? If we can get to 200 in 1 year, maybe the 1,000 in 2 years isn't so crazy. So go out there and tell everybody you know. Tell your dog, tell your mom, tell your cousin, tell that guy on the street. I don't care. Tell them to subscribe. They won't regret it. It'll be a really fun time. So let's go ahead and talk about the team here. So I was asked to use Cryogonal in the comments below. And so again, I take suggestions in the comments below and I will build around them. And so Cryogonal was the basis for today. Now Cryogonal really is, you know, it's in PU, which is like the second lowest tier. So as far as competitive viability, it's really not that great. But it's got some redeeming factors, right? So 80 base HP, okay. 135 special defense. All right, that's pretty good. 95 special attack, decent. And then 105 speed. That's also not too bad. The problem is that there's a lot of things that can hit it on the physical side, and physical mons are just so abundant right now. Like, everything is physical, and this thing dies to a gentle breeze on the physical side. It's also weak to things like Cinderace, Melmetal, just big threats in the tier, and it really can't do anything to threaten them back. And so it's extremely niche, and it's interesting, right? It's interesting to say the least. But I think that we can make it work. So we've got heavy duty boots on it, and this is going to be our rapid spinner. Now normally on a team like this, Pelipper would be the defogger, but actually we are letting the Cryogonal do that for us. So we're running heavy duty boots so we don't take any damage on our way in, and it helps us to get the rapid spin off pretty easily, especially with 105 speed. We've got 232 timid on this. That is to outspeed Garchomp before any boosts. And then of course, if we get a rapid spin boost, then we can outspeed a lot of other things. But I wanted to make sure that we were faster than Garchomp. That seems like a pretty important one because otherwise it beats us, and that's not a mon that we should be losing to with a Cryogonal. So I wanted to make sure that we can beat that. And then of course, recover and knock off. Knock off to just remove any pesky items that we can on special attackers, and just to basically just be a nuisance. It's not gonna be a sweeper. It's not meant to be one. It's not really something that I could get to work as far as being a sweeper goes, but as far as being a specially defensive wall, I think that it might actually work on this squad, especially since it's on a rain team. So I thought it would work really, really well with rain. That way we cover that fire weakness, and it already has an immunity to ground. So we have 3 ground immunities, which is pretty awesome, I think. I think that's a pretty good thing. The one thing this team is a little weak to is Regieleki, but we do have Ferrothorn for that, so that helps out a little bit, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But we've got the Pelipper here with Scald, Knockoff, Roost, and U-Turn. Normally Defog would be on there, but now we can afford to have Roost. And I think that that could end up being really, really nice since we are not running Heavy Duty Boots, we're running Damp Rock. So I wanna make sure that we can keep the rain on the field as long as we possibly can, just so that we can abuse it with a couple of our other mons, such as Thunderous Therian. I've not gotten to use this in this generation yet. I used it quite a bit last generation, and boy, it's a good mon. Base 145 special attack is no joke, and 101 speed is no joke either. Its bulk is not great, but like it can get by sometimes. But yeah, its speed and its special attack are very, very nice and hits like a truck. And now Heavy Duty Boots are a thing, so I don't have to worry about anything like that. On an earlier version of this team, this was Specs, and I decided to change it to Heavy Duty Boots just because I kept running into problems here and there, especially Cryogonal dying early. And so this allows it to come in even if there are hazards up. It gives me another option other than Cryogonal as a switch in, and so I really, really like that. Next is gonna be Ferrothorn. This is our hazard setter, and again, another weakness to fire, but it's fine because Ferrothorn is just so bulky, and the water, the rain rather, is going to be really helpful in weakening that fire weakness. And so we're actually running a slightly more offensive set than what is usually seen. Usually you would see like sub Leech Seed or Leech Seed Protect, something like that. This is a more offensive variant, and so I'm really focusing on getting rid of items as much as I can with the double knockoff, actually triple knockoff, right? Yeah, this is triple knockoff. So I'm really trying to get rid of items here, especially things like choice scarfs. Those are the big things that I want to get rid of, so that, here we go, Volcanion. This is what I would like to shine, but honestly, like it could be either of these two could shine and I'd be okay with it. But the thing is, every time that I say I want something to shine in a Wi-Fi battle, it never does. So we're gonna just see what this thing can do. But Steam Eruption in the rain hits like an absolute truck, and that's what we're going to be clicking almost every time. It definitely has some use with Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, and Flamethrower. Flamethrower we're not going to click very much just because we're in rain, but this thing's coverage is really, really nice, and 130 special attack is pretty decent, but that 70 speed is really slow, so that's why we have a Scarf on it, and one more reason to get rid of the rocks. And then finally we have Barraskewda. This team doesn't have very many physical attackers, that's why I have so many attacks on Ferrothorn as well, because we really need some of that physical power, that way we don't get shut down by something like Slowbro, or Slow King on the special side. So we want to make sure that we have some options on the physical side as well. And so we're running Liquidation, Close Combat, Ice Fang, Flip Turn with the Choice Band. So that is the team. And of course, the Pokepaste is down in the description for you to use. And I believe it is time for us to go ahead and jump into the battle. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into today's battle. And I have brought a Tucker, and he jumped off the bed as soon as I started the intro. But that's just Tucker for you. So anyway, I guess no Tucker. Anyway, so we've got us an opponent here with a very good looking team actually. Normally teams on Wi-Fi don't look this good, so I'm actually a little scared. It's fine, but we're gonna figure it out. So Swampert obviously being a really nice wall, but we've got Ferrothorn to check that really hard. We've got a Decidueye, which could end up being a problem, but we have Hurricane. I think we've got checks to pretty much everything. We need to be careful around the Dragonite though, because that could be a big problem. What is your anti-lead to Pelipper? I don't think you've got a great anti-lead to Pelipper. So I believe I'm just going to go ahead and lead that. The Nidoking is definitely the best lead against Pelipper. But I mean, a special Nidoking really can't touch a Ferrothorn, so we should be fine as far as that goes. Obviously Gallade can check that, but we'll just have to see. This looks like an interesting team for sure, as we see the Gallade lead, which is absolutely fine by me. I'm totally good with this lead. My opponent, I think, predicting the Ferrothorn lead for me trying to get up my hazards. Totally fair lead. I understand that. So what do you go into on a Hurricane? I'm not sure. But I don't have Hurricane on this, so, you know, it's fine. I can just click Knockoff here for free and take this item or take something else. Screens Gallade. Very interesting. I have not seen this before. I've definitely not seen this before. But could end up coming in handy. Is it also light clay? It is. Very interesting. Okay, so I feel a lot less threatened by this now. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Scald here, and it's going to click Night Slash. This shouldn't do too awfully much. We are fully physically defensive on this, so I am not really worried about the damage. That's pretty pitiful damage coming off of me. Unfortunately, I did not decide to run the Hurricane on this. I decided Roost over that offensive move. But, you know, I think that you could just as easily switch it out. I just thought Roost was a little bit more valuable here. But I think that's fine. I think that's fine. And even if you want to switch in something, a lot of your team really doesn't want to be burned. So, yeah, Nidoking is like the one thing that can be burned, but really still doesn't want to take a water move. And so, I mean, this is going to do a decent chunk to something that could be a big threat. Yeah, that does a solid half. We get the burn. Not that that should make a big difference. This thing is most likely special. At least most of them are. I'm expecting this team to be pretty well put together. So I'm going to go straight into Ferrothorn here, and I should be able to eat up anything it wants to go for. That's a quick claw. What? Okay, so it's not Life Orb. It is not Life Orb. So no Life Orb with the Sheer Force, and we see Thunder Punch. So this thing is physical. So we very well could see a superpower off of this if it is physical. Nidoking's physical attack is higher than its special attack. So that is definitely something that could happen. And honestly, I'm a little scared that that is what's going to happen. I also had a free switch into Thundurus, expecting an electric type move, but I honestly wasn't completely sure what this thing wanted to go for. I honestly want to scout for the fighting type move now, because I'm assuming you don't just click the same thing again, right? I think we're okay to do whatever we need to here. And let's just set rocks. I want to see what this thing has for me. Doesn't have the fighting type move. Actually goes for Stealth Rocks himself. So very interesting. So Thunder Punch and Rocks on my opponent's side. All right. So we know that we can't switch in on this, and that's going to make it a little rough on our Cryogonal, unfortunately, just because that makes that makes like literally his entire team physical. So it's going to be a little rough to get Cryogonal to do much, but we'll just go ahead and click Gyro Ball here, and we see T-Spikes. My opponent going for it all, not realizing that we do have the Rapid Spin on the Cryogonal, and we do go ahead and take out that Nidoking. Absolutely perfect to go ahead and get rid of the Hazard Setter. That's very valuable to get rid of, and so yeah, we can just go ahead and spin those at some other point. What do you want to go into on this? I feel like Ferrothorn's a pretty decent check to most of his team, especially with the Gallade being a little odd. All right, so Gallade does come back in here, and this feels like a pretty free switch back into the Pelipper. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. We could also go into Thundurus here. Thundurus could definitely KO with a Weather Ball at this range. And of course, it doesn't really care about the hazards, but neither does Pelipper because, well, actually Pelipper's going to get hurt. Yeah, we have Rocks up. But there's one layer of everything, and it's actually Brick Break rather than Close Combat. Close Combat would have done a lot more damage, of course, but, you know, it's fine. It's totally fine. And I think we just click Scald here again. Like I said, nothing on his team really appreciates being burned. And so if you want to switch out, that's totally fine. I might burn something else. And we see the Reflect going ahead and going up. There's no light screen on this one, so it will only go for 5 turns rather than 8. And the light screen should be at least close to running out. And we get the burn on this as well. Pelipper just out here taking souls, I'm telling you. Perfect. And the light screen goes ahead and wears off. I'm going to go ahead and Roost up here. I'm assuming he's going to click the light screen again. Yep, he does, and that's going to give us a free Roost. So getting back all of that HP for absolutely free, actually, which is fantastic. And Pelipper out here just stalling him out because, I mean, if you bring fully physically offensive mons and you're facing a Pelipper and a Ferrothorn, you're in for a bit of a rough time, it seems. So here I'm going to click U-turn. I'm going to try to get out of here. And it does click the Night Slash again. That does negligible damage at best. And it's not going to be enough to KO, but with the burn, do I go Cryogonal here? I don't think so. I really am somewhat doubting Cryogonal's bulk, but maybe I shouldn't. We are full HP. We're at max HP. So, I mean... with Brick Break instead of Close Combat. Yeah, still a guaranteed KO by like a large margin. So let's go ahead and go Thunderous. We have boots on this as well, so we can still pivot around decently, at least right now, still. And then we can get our rain back up as well pretty easily. So I'm gonna go ahead and U-turn here. I should be faster, I would think. Yeah, Gallade's only base 80. So we can go ahead and U-turn out on this as well. And that does go ahead and take out the Gallade, which is absolutely perfect. And so I'm gonna actually switch into Cryogonal whether I get the spin off or not. This should bring in the Bisharp, I would think, rather than the Dragonite or the Swampert. Because this is really my check to both of those, or at least it's somewhat of a check. But I have other things that can deal with it. Obviously, the Barraskewda can deal with it as well, as long as it has its speed boost. And with Choice Band, it kind of goes nuts. So we do bait in the Bisharp like what we thought, and that is going to be absolutely perfect. Now, in this scenario, we're somewhat free to just switch straight into Volcanion. Now, it is going to take a lot of damage on switch in, though, which is something I'm not a fan of. And so I believe the middle ground play is to go Ferrothorn here. We could outspeed this and go for the Rapid Spin and sacrifice our Cryogonal, but I don't want to sack Cryogonal just yet. I don't think I need to. Yeah, it goes for the Iron Head. It's going to take the Iron Barb's damage. It's not going to have a fun time staying in against us, so that is absolutely fine by me. And I don't believe that you are going to have anything that helps you get through this, at least not easily. So, yeah, you're in a little bit of a weird spot here. I'm going to go ahead and knock off whatever your item is. Or you can switch something else in and get that knocked off. Actually, he goes ahead and knocks off our life orb, or our leftovers, rather. Which is unfortunate, because that is a lot of our HP gain. And black glasses to boost the power of those dark type moves. So that is quite interesting. This is quite the interesting set that we are seeing right now out of our opponent. So I believe now we can switch into Pelipper. Because he probably doesn't go for double knockoff, or does he? Because if he does, I would rather not go into Pelipper. Because I would rather not let that go down just yet. But then again, I mean, Ferrothorn's a really good check to pretty much everything. And I can save this. So let's go back into Pelipper. And then we're gonna have to get a little fancy here. But I think that we can do that. So we do take the rocks damage, but we set up the drizzle, which is exactly what we're going to need. And we go ahead and see a Sucker Punch, which is absolutely fantastic to see. I'm definitely a fan of that. And I can just click U-turn here. This should be pretty free. Goes ahead and knocks off our Damp Rock, unfortunately, but I think that we'll be all right without it. So we're gonna go ahead and knock this out. We do need to get rid of the rocks before we can come back in, unfortunately, but we can go into Cryogonal and do that right now. We are going to be faster, and so I think we're gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and click Rapid Spin, let this thing go down, but it's going to be very useful in the process. It's all good. Getting rid of all of those hazards. And Iron Head here, going to absolutely obliterate Cryogonal, but it did work. It got the Rapid Spin off, which is exactly what we need. It's going to save Pelipper later. and it's going to end up making a big difference. Now we can go into Volcanion, the star of the show, the actual star of the show. And this is our boy here. I'm excited about using this. I'm really a fan of it, and I just click Steam Eruption. Like it's just free plus thumbnail. There we go. Nice. Get out of here. So yeah, Steam Eruption is basically just better Scald. It's 110 base power and 90 accuracy, and it has a much higher chance to burn than Scald. I believe it's a 50% chance, which is an amazing chance, especially given a team of all physical attackers. So Swampert comes in, and I believe that could take my hit quite handily. So we're gonna go into Ferrothorn just to get some chip off, and we could fire back with a Power Whip as long as it doesn't do too much damage to us. Typically these things are defensive rather than offensive, and it does go for the liquidation, which makes a lot of sense, but I don't believe that is going to be a 2-hit KO, so I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that. Even in the rain, it is not going to be a 2-hit KO. The thing is, though, we're Water Absorb on Volcanion. And so if it had clicked that, I switched out because I expected a ground move. If I had known it was going to click a water type move, I would have stayed in. But goes for the Ice Punch. That is not going to KO. And more Iron Barbs damage. And we're going to get this big Power Whip off and take the KO onto the Swampert. Get out of here. Very, very nice. We had what we needed to deal with that. It could have been the Cryogonal, but you know what? Cryogonal went out in style. It's on the team. That's what counts, right? That's what counts. And it did a good job. It got the spin off because it was faster than Bisharp. Yes, it got knocked out right after that, but it's fine. It's totally fine. Totally fine. So we're going to go ahead and see what my opponent wants to go into next. Back against the wall. I believe this is the last 2 or 3 that my opponent has. I know it has a Dragonite in the back, and then we have here a Decidueye. Decidueye, of course, taking those stones, and then we have the Dragonite in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and click Knock Off, but it's going to basically let this thing go down. We do see a Shadow Claw rather than Spirit Shackle, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would have brought Spirit Shackle, and it's not long reach. So all kinds of weirdness. But we could go into this, but Flamethrower is going to be weakened by the rain. And so I believe it is best if we just go into Barraskewda, and we can just click Ice Fang to clean up the game. So I believe this should be GG. I don't believe that my opponent will be able to come back from this, just because we have coverage for pretty much everything. Even if it is a multi-scale Dragonite, which I have to assume that it is, I don't know if it would take 1. I really don't know if it'll take 1 or not. I mean, it's a lot of damage. Right, it's a lot of damage. Let me check. Ice Fang. Yeah, it actually does not KO through multi-scale, but this thing isn't heavy-duty boots. Yeah, most of the time these things are heavy-duty boots. So it took Stealth Rocks and Dynamaxed. Yeah. There is an extremely slim chance that it survives. Extremely slim chance. The roll is very much in our favor. So this should definitely be the game. Bop. Wow, that is an absolute min roll. Dang. Or well, I guess this thing had some bulk on it then. It had to have had some bulk. I was calcing no bulk, and it took it better than what I thought. So, yeah, it took that better than, yeah, because that was better than lowest roll on no bulk. So it has to be a little bit bulky, but it's really not that big of a deal. We could just go into this and click Sludge Bomb. We could go into Thunderous, which is what I'm going to do. Yeah, we're just gonna go into Thunderous here. This should be totally fine. Now, we could just click regular Weather Ball. I'm gonna click Thunder and go for it. And if we miss, we miss. We didn't miss. Very nice. And we go ahead and take out the Dragonite. So that is going to be all for that battle. Now, stick around, because I actually have a bonus battle for you today, but it is not in-game. I have a bonus battle. Oh, and my opponent left. Of course he did. Anyway, I have a bonus battle for you to show you in Showdown. I had this battle where Cryogonal might or might not have done some work. And so I wanted to show you that before we wrap up today's video. So let's go ahead and jump back on Showdown. So here is our bonus battle, and I thought that this battle was a lot of fun to do, and this is just so I do test my teams before I bring them before I bring them into the game, and this was a test battle that I couldn't pass up, and so I saved the replay on it, and I wanted to go ahead and show you. So looking at the opponent's team, and let me know if you want to see something like this where I like break down an actual battle rather than it being something that I do during the game, because it's a little bit easier to look back on the game and give an analysis that way rather than doing it live. Doing it live, sometimes it leads to mistakes. But this one, so my thought process was, my opponent's going to lead Tapu Fini. Not only is it all the way on the left, but it also usually carries Taunt. And usually these things will click Taunt first turn if it goes up against a Ferrothorn, expecting me to just want to click Rocks. So I go ahead and I lead Ferrothorn, expecting the Tapu Fini. And so what do I do first turn? I don't click Rocks, expecting the Taunt, and we go ahead and click Knockoff. Now I was predicting a switch out, so, you know, whatever. But then I bring out the Power Whip, and this thing takes a chunk, which is absolutely fantastic. So it goes into Zapdos. I predict a switch out. Don't need to predict what, but I just go ahead and knock off, and it goes into the Zapdos, and that takes that. My opponent goes for Discharge. Very well could have gone for a Heat Wave there, which would have been unfortunate, but it's all right. It's totally fine. There is the Heat Wave right there, but it really doesn't do all that much because Cryogonal is a bulky boy. We go ahead and click Knock Off on the switch in. I did not expect this to come in. I expected something else to come in, but we can go ahead and click the Freeze Dry to take this out. Next, Magearna comes in, and we've got Volcanion for that. Absolutely no issues there at all. And here's the problem. It clicks Flamethrower, and it gets crit. Without that crit, that definitely, it would have survived. And there you see I'm apologizing for that crit because that crit did matter. But so we go into Ferrothorn on this as a switch, and then we go into Pelipper on the Heat Wave to take 0 damage, and it's a free way to get up our weather. Then we go into Thunderous, expecting the electric type move, and absorb that. I predict a switch out and go ahead and click Weather Ball instead of clicking the electric type move, because that was an obvious switch in, and it's totally fine. This thing clicks Gunk Shot, we take it and click Weather Ball and do an amazing amount of damage to this, and then I go ahead and sack Thunderous. I also was kind of hoping for a Gunk Shot miss, but unfortunately didn't get it, and it's fine. So it goes for Sucker Punch on Barraskewda, does a good chunk, but we can go ahead and click Flip Turn here and go out into something else. I don't want to leave that in there just because of the Rillaboom, and so now I can click Recover because I'm faster than the Zapdos, and Heat Wave is doing nothing in this weather. So we can click the Freeze Dry and go ahead and just take out this Zapdos as well. And this thing is going absolutely nuts on my opponent. We click the Freeze Dry, it does so much damage, and we get the freeze, and that freeze is unfortunate. It wouldn't have, it definitely wouldn't have changed the outcome of the battle, but it definitely made the end game much, much easier. So yeah, Cryogonal kind of went nuts in this game, and I feel like the predictions were pretty good as far as on my end. So really cool game there as well. I know it's really quick, but I wanted to go ahead and show you that as well. So yeah, that is going to be today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Wi-Fi Wednesday. Like I said, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave your suggestions down below of what you would like to see featured, and leave them down below if you like this kind of a format, if you like the different format, or if you would rather go back to the old format where it's all in game. I'm all ears for suggestions, so just hit me up in the comments down below either way. So I hope you have a great rest of your week. Hope you're looking forward to Friday for another video, and until then, stay safe out there, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.